Hello, everyone, and welcome to Top of Mind. I'm Mary Mesaglio. In this episode, I want to share with you a really simple tool that you can use to help categorize any kind of change you're making, whether it's a culture change, a process change, a technology change, a system change. This is a really simple framework to help guide you. I've rarely heard as many comments as I hear these days about how executives need their people to change faster, become more adaptable, become more resilient, and basically become more agile in the face of change. And I think the reason for that, this pressure to change, is because, yes, there's a bunch of technology innovation and disruption and opportunities and fear of missing out. But also, we live in the age of what Gartner calls polycrisis. There's exogenous shocks that keep coming from outside that executives instinctively know they need their organizations to be ready for. So geopolitical shocks, macroeconomic shocks. It's a year where there's more elections going on than any other year. So lots of potential political disruption, right? And in order to try and respond to all that positive and negative change, executives keep exhorting their people to adapt faster, become more agile, accept the change. So I want to offer one really simple tool that doesn't involve, huge frameworks and months of work and lots of expensive consultants that you can just use no matter what level of the organization you're in to help frame the change you are trying to make. There's a 2x2 that has two axes. On one axis, on the vertical axis, is expectations. Expectations that this thing, this change, this transformation, this system, this new technology, whatever, expectation that it's going to be easy, an expectation that it's going to be hard. On the horizontal axis, you have reality. Is the reality easy or is the reality hard? And of course, this yields four possible situations. Two of them are neutral and two of them aren't. The two that are neutral are areas where expectations and reality match. So I have an expectation that something's going to be easy and it actually is. Or I have an expectation that something's going to be hard, and it actually is. In any one of those neutral scenarios, you don't get any extra points, but you also don't get deducted any points. You don't get punished for something where expectations and reality match up. So like if I go out to my car in the morning, I use my keys, I click, and the door opens, I expected that to be easy and problem-free, and it was. I'm not yelling to the rooftops how wonderful that is. It's just life as usual, neutral effect. If I go into the fridge in the morning and I open it up and I take out a glass of milk and it's cold, no extra points, but nothing wrong with that either, right? Expectations and reality match. It was easy and I expected it to be. Then you have, I expected it to be hard and it was hard, right? So I'm trying to get into med school. I'm trying to become a neurosurgeon. I'm running an ultra marathon, right? All of these are areas where no one really goes, I was just so shocked by how hard it was to run 100K. I just didn't expect. No one goes, I don't know. I just didn't think it would be hard to become a neurosurgeon. I kind of thought I would do it over the weekend, right? People expect it to be hard. They're kind of doing it because it's hard and that gives them elite status, and it is. So again, expectations match reality. No extra points, but on the other hand, you don't get punished for that either, right? Two neutral scenarios. Now that leaves two other scenarios where expectations and reality don't match. The first is, I expect it to be easy and it's hard. This is a bad place to be because here, expectations and reality don't line up and things are harder than were expected, right? I expect this to be easy and it's hard. Where does that show up? Well, as an example, it shows up anywhere you are propagating a change where people knew the old way. It was familiar. They would be on behavioral autopilot. They would just click through, do the process without thinking too much. They might not like it, but they knew how to do it, right? And then you release this new system and this new process, this new technology, this new whatever. And now they can't be on behavioral autopilot anymore. It's hard. It's new. It might be better, but in the short term, it increases the cognitive strain, the effort involved in doing that thing. And so people feel a huge amount of frustration, right? That's a danger zone for anybody propagating a new process, technology, whatever. And it can manifest in really unexpected ways. So I've talked to a lot of executives who were responsible for bringing about some really desired change, a new system, a new process, a new technology that everybody was asking for. They were going, the old system, this sucks and it's so 1985 and we want it to be better and we're asking you. And so you went out, put your team together, created the new system, launched it. And what did everybody say? I wish we had the old system. And you're like, are you kidding me? You've been complaining about the old system. How? That happens because the new system is new. Not because it's lower quality. It's probably better quality. But because at first it's new and it's frustrating for people that used to have something easy. Now it's hard, right? Expectations and reality don't meet. That's a quadrant called frustration. Anyone in that quadrant wants to get out of it really quickly. You want to reduce any friction. You want to reduce any of the frustration to try and get out of that quadrant because people can throw their toys out of the pram in a really major way. There's one more quadrant you can be in. And this is where the expectation was that it was going to be hard and it was easy. This is the quadrant that I call delightful. This is where you're delighting people. I expected to go and propose this new thing, and I was going to have a ton of bureaucracy and paperwork and meetings and obstacles. And the person in charge just went, yeah, okay, let's do that. And you react going, are you knock me over with a feather? I can barely believe it. You have my lifelong allegiance. I'm loyal to you forever. Thank you for making this thing I thought was going to be hard really easy. This 2x2 applies all over for anyone doing a change program, but I think it's especially applicable to anyone who's new in their role. Anyone who's new in their role has to very quickly establish credibility. Even if they come with a good reputation, the people that they are now in charge of don't really know them. And they have to find friends fast, right? Who are going to be their allies? Who's going to support them in all the change mandate that they probably have. And so you want to be in that delight quadrant as soon as possible, because that's the fastest way to establish some kind of bridge, connection, loyalty, allegiance, friends. And it's also the way to delight people really quickly when they expected it to be hard, right? So as an example, way before the pandemic, I was working with this global CIO who had a mandate from the CEO in a large financial institution to go out and centralize IT. So it was a mandate for efficiency. It was a mandate for centralized IT. And of course, that's a great idea, but maybe he knew that the business unit heads weren't going to be so happy, right? That's wresting power and authority from the business unit heads and putting it in the center. So he knew he had to make friends fast. What did he do? Well, he did all the stuff that he was supposed to be doing, but on the side, he had this one observation that people, they were all in office on location at the time. They were having employees at the bank were having real trouble finding parking. They just couldn't find parking in the morning. So if their first meeting was at 9, they might arrive at 8 a.m. on the basis that they might have to drive around for an hour just to find a parking spot. And he thought, I can help with this. He had a digital services team. He had them come up with this simple app that showed where the available parking spaces were, and he deployed it. Was a parking app part of his official mandate? No. Was it at the top of the list of things he needed to do? No. Was it part of the ROI demand-driven stuff that customers were asking for? No. But it was in that quadrant of delight. He and his digital services team were responsible for turning something hard, I have to arrive an hour early to find parking, this is so annoying, into something easy. Well, here's this app. You can use it to find your parking space. What can I do for you, right? Amazing, incredible allegiance, something super small, not rationally in the list of things he should have done, but in that delight quadrant. So for anyone out there, especially executives who are new to role, but really anyone propagating any kind of change, it's as simple as looking at your change and going, which one of the quadrants is it in? And how can I reduce the things in the frustration quadrant and increase them in the delight quadrant? I hope you've enjoyed this session. Go forth, be a wonderful change agent, and thank you very much for watching.